Free families in modern times. As previously described, the Free Families Council today is a mere shell of the democracy. In reality, it is a dictatorship run by the Sonozaki family. Both the Kimiyoshi and Furuta families are far from their former glory, and it doesn't seem at all like they maintain the ancient traditions. Only the Sonozaki family has retained their glory from the past and has inherited many colorful traditions from the age known as Onigafuchi village. I mean, even with the mayor being from the Kimiyoshi, that is pretty interesting. Even the most recent verifiable example of Watanagashi that occurred at the end of the Meiji era seems to have been done under the orders of the Sonozaki family. Referred to the Free Family's genealogical tree from the late Meiji. After the start of the Meiji era, the Sonozaki family wanted to push the development of Hinamizawa village, so they took a strong role in leadership. During the Dam Wars a few years ago, the Kimiyoshi family served as the chair of the opposition alliance, but this was in name only. In actuality, the Sonozaki family reigned as leader behind the scenes. People whispered that perhaps the Kimiyoshi family dictated acts of opposition that could be publicized, and the Sonozaki family enacted those which could not. Even in Hinamizawa, they whispered that the multitude of unsettling incidents reported during the dam protests, such as the kidnapping of the famous head of the Ministry of Construction's son, had been carried out by the Sonozakis. Head of the Ministry of Construction. Additionally, they say that perhaps the Sonozaki family's secret maneuvering was responsible for the serial freak diff incidents that have continuously occurred in recent years as well. The serial freak diff incidents are without doubt the second coming of the traditional Watanagashi. They must be enacting the Watanagashi on the day of the original Watanagashi, and just fall into the level of an ordinary village festival, in order to remind the villagers of the holy laws of Onigafuchi village. It's safe to assert that exploring the Sonozaki family is the fastest route for researching it today. If I can expose the contents of the Furuta Shrine storehouse, I'd like to narrow my research target to the Sonozaki family next. Okay. So we're finding out here that Takano is also doing research on the past of the murders and all that. The Sonozaki house is strictly guarded by security cameras on their premises, but thankfully I've become acquainted with the sisters Mion, the next heir, and Shion. I want this to be a breakthrough I can connect to my next line of research. Okay. Now, about that punishment that isn't over.
いえいえ、気にしないでくださいよ。この店でおでんを食べるとですね、なぜか年計のガソリンスタンドの請求書に化けちゃうんですよ。だから遠慮しないでもう一杯飲んでいけばいいのに。
The man, red-faced, waved his hand to say that he had enough, and disappeared into the brilliant neon lights in front of the station.
クマちゃんも勉強しといてくださいよ。謙虚な人が結局一番長生きするんです。
さっきの話、本当っすかね？
さて、それはわからないですけどね。真偽はともかく、そういう話がまことしやかに流れてるってことには意味があると思いますよ。
そんなのが村長を狙う動機になりうるんすかね？
クマちゃん、いつも言ってるでしょ。動機っていうのは、その本人に十分でありさえすれば足りるんです。価値観の違いをよく考えなくちゃ。あ、お母さん、もう一杯ください。
Though we have been suppressing the information, Tomitake and Takano's deaths were already known throughout Hinamizawa. Okay, now they are known. All the rumors pointed to them having incurred the wrath of Oyashiro-sama for setting foot in the Forbidden Temple, the storehouse for ritual implements. According to the rumors, there were two other people who went in there with them, Shion Sonozaki and Keiichi Maebara. People were whispering in the shadows that those two would be cursed by Oyashiro-sama as well. Apparently, however, the responsibility didn't fall solely on the four trespassers' shoulders. Until last year, it was locked up tight. But this year it had been changed to a simple lock. And that being what allowed thieves to enter so easily. That is true. They changed it apparently to something much easier. Could it have been on purpose? To entice someone like Takano and Tomitake to get in. Those were the rumors going around. To create a motive enough for them to get killed for completely different reasons. Maybe somebody out there. Maybe it's not a curse. Who knows? Well, for Tomitake, I'd still say that it is. But for Takano, maybe they wanted a good reason for her to be killed without creating any suspicion. So they made Takano go into the storehouse and get killed. And everybody will think of it as Oyashiro's curse.
クマちゃんは見たことありませんか？私はずいぶん前に何かのようで行った時に見たことをよく覚えてますよ。
すみません。ちょっと思い出せないっす。
そりゃもうおっかないくらいに厳重に施錠してありましてね。まるで大金庫みたいに厳重な蔵だったんですよ。
Yes, we are. It was a very simple and cheap padlock. The lone girl protecting the shrine, Rika disliked the heavy locks and consulted with the mayor, who had replaced it with a simpler padlock. Rika and the mayor being the reason for the change in padlocks. And the mayor is missing and Rika is possibly in danger right now. Interesting.
だから村長とフルでリカも同罪ってことなんですか？だとしたら村長に続いてフルでリカもまずいじゃないですか。
その可能性は大ですね。クマちゃん、Hinamizawaを巡回している覆面者に至急連絡。フルデ神社近辺に張り付かしてください。
了解っす。
Okay, well, Oishi is thinking about Rika being in danger. That's good. Alright, well, let's see. Because, my goodness. Because if Rika is gonna end up disappeared, and only you have the most important person in the Kimiyoshi family disappear, but also Rika, the sole survivor of the Furude family. That will create even more chaos. After hanging up on Shion, I searched for Rika-chan's phone number on my school's contact list. Okay, good. So we're not gonna wait until the next day. That's good. There it is. My fingers trembled with urgency, and I felt multiple times to put in the simple 5-digit number.
圭一、こんな時間に電話？夜遅くは先方に失礼だからよしなさい。
Sorry, Mom, but Keiichi apparently has like a girlfriend right now, and there is a responsibility and all that. Now, would you please let us call somebody in peace here? Can you just go to a different room, maybe?
今はそれどころじゃないんだよ。
I shouted angrily at my mom, listening to the dull tone. Pick up. Come on, pick up. The time was 11 p.m. It certainly wasn't early. It was essentially the middle of the night. Rika-chan already gone to bed. Phone would be ringing constantly though, so would she get back up for me? Rika-chan didn't pick up. She didn't pick up. She didn't pick up. Maybe she just happened to miss it. Maybe her bed was just too far away from the phone. The sound of a phone ringing gets clearer and clearer the longer you go on sleeping. Then, the bathroom. Yeah, she must be taking a bath. If that was the case, then even if she heard the phone, she wouldn't be able to pick up. It was a little late to be taking a bath, but it was possible she normally took baths right before going to bed. Well, 30 minutes. Then try calling again. I'd say 10 minutes. Max. Even as I was thinking that, I called her house over and over again. I kept calling, over and over, again and again. I kept on calling her, but she didn't pick up even once. I think I kept trying for about 30 minutes, yet she wasn't picking up. My phone calls so persistent that she had gotten scared of picking up the receiver? No, that couldn't possibly be it. There was no point in doing this any longer. The best thing to do would be to go there in person. Where was Rika-chan's house, though? Shit. I don't even ask her where she lived. God damn it. Should have known this. Her residence was written there in the contact list. But it was an address with mostly numbers, so I couldn't tell where it was just by reading it. Is there a map or something in here? Rika Furude. Her last name was Furude. It was a bit of an odd last name, so it might be easy to find. Thinking that, I rummaged around the drawer with the phone book. Could only find things like takeout menus and phone numbers for public establishments. Shit. I tore one thing after another out of the drawer, but I didn't come up with any clues as to where Rika-chan's house was. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. If you don't know, then just ask. As someone who does know. Maybe Satoko.
そうだレナなら知ってるに違いない
I looked out Rena's phone number on the contacts list. Rena Ryugu. There she was.
もしもし、竜宮です。
He was the voice of a grumpy sunny man. It must have been Rena's father. I'm calling in the middle of the night. I need to be polite.
夜分遅くに申し訳ありません前原と申しますがレナさんはいらっしゃいますか
レイナは風呂に入っていますが。出たかな。レイナ、友達から電話だぞ。
Reina. Alright, Reina Ryugu was her real name, wasn't it? I got so used to calling her Rena that hearing her real name caught me a little off guard.
もしもし
Hey, Rena.
お電話変わりました
あ俺だよ夜遅くにすまん
あれケイチくんこんな時間に何かな
実はリカちゃんの家がどこにあるのか知りたいんだ
Nana seemed a little appalled that I called her for something like that at this hour. However, she spoke her next words seriously, as if she caught on to how urgent my need was.
いいよフルデ神社の境内に集会所があるよねその裏手に2階建ての倉庫小屋があるのを知ってるかなそこに住んでるんだよ
I couldn't immediately visualize the place, but as long as I knew she lived on the shrine grounds, I just have to take a look around.
わかったありがとうこんな遅くにすまなかったな親父さんに謝っといてくれ
そんなのはいいよケイチくんそれよりどうしてリカちゃんの家を聞くのかな
Orena asked in an unusually sharp way, holding me before I could hang up on the phone. I hesitated for a moment about whether to tell her. He was killed because I told him.
ケイチくん聞こえてるなら答えてほしいなどうしてリカちゃんの家の場所をこんな時間に聞きたいのかな
Orena affected her usual tone, but beneath her words lay a certain tension, like she'd intuitively sensed something was going on. What will you do, Keiichi? If it's Rena, can't I tell her? He was killed because he found out. I revealed everything, so he was killed.
ケイチくんレナは真剣に聞いてるんだけどな答えてほしいよ
Rena asked me once again in a tone so forceful I couldn't imagine her ever using it normally. I was taken aback by her vigor. You know, if I'm to think that this is someone's hand, let's say that it isn't just a curse, but there is somebody out there that is having a hand in this as well and is killing people and making people disappear one by one. I wonder how fast they are in doing all this. We just told Rika about all this, like today. Would she really disappear this fast? And if we were to tell Rena like right now, how fast would she disappear if something like this were to happen to her as well? If we were to tell this to like 10 people, what would our pursuer do in that case? Rena was Rika-chan's friend too. She had the right to be concerned about Rika-chan disappearing. If I told Rena, then we could just tell Rena at the very least that Rika-chan may be in danger, so we should be careful. We're not gonna say anything more than that though. Rena is gonna have to trust us on this one, even if only for a moment. I could drive away my horrifying fears.
でな、その理由を聞かれると困るんだが。
Rena's tone was seriousness itself. Just from that tone, I could feel her saying, "No matter what you say, Keiichi-kun, I'll believe you." That subtle sense of security gave me the courage to reveal the truth.
リカちゃんが危ない気がするんだ。
それは虫の知らせかな。それともリカちゃんに危険が迫っている何か確信がある？
I didn't really have the time to go back and forth with Rena about this. Still, I think listening to her calm voice suited my pointless patience.
確信はないけど。
Yet, I still hesitated. I had told Rika-chan that we had snuck into the ritual storehouse. The mayor, to whom Shion had confessed before that, had already disappeared. So it was possible that Rika-chan also. I didn't know how to explain to Rena. While I was tongue-tied, Rena spoke up.
変なこと聞いてごめんね。考えたら確信なんか必要なかった。
Rena laughed a little, seeming a bit absent-minded. I wasn't exactly in the mood to laugh, so this time I was dumbfounded. Rena continued in a cheerful yet still purposeful voice.
友達のことが心配になって、
Yeah, we sure are.
それを確かめるのに理由なんかいらないと思う。
Okay, well thank you, Rena, for understanding us.
仮にリカちゃんが寝ててそれを起こしてしまったとしても、それが理由なら私たちは誰も怒らないと思うよ。
Rena, thank you.
じゃあまずは圭一君に確認するね。リカちゃんの家に電話はしたんだよね。それでどうしても繋がらないから家の場所を聞いてきたんだね。
Yeah, basically.
ああ。10分以上は鳴らし続けたと思う。ひょっとしたら気づかなくて寝てるだけなのかも。
I mean, she's basically alone too. I mean, it's not as if there are chances for her family members to pick up the phone because there is no other family member. She'll be the only one to hear that phone.
リカちゃんの家はとても狭いの。だから電話が鳴ったらたとえ寝ていても気づかないわけはないよ。さとこちゃんもいるんだから二人揃って気づかないわけはない。
Oh. Are they actually living together?
サトコってリカちゃんと一緒に住んでるのか？
うん。
I mean, Rika and Satoko, they both come to school together from a completely separate direction from Shion, from Mion, Rena, and Keiichi. They do come to school together. And I guess I can understand that they are living close to one another, but they are actually living in the same house too.
知らなかったの？今はその話は後ね。
Would anybody leave Rika-chan to live by herself? She would need somebody to live with her as well, so Satoko would be there.
とにかく電話をそれだけ鳴らして誰も出ないのは絶対におかしいよ。
But that means that Satoko didn't hear that phone either. Are they both gone? Huh. I understood that the situation wasn't normal far faster than I could have ever imagined her to. It never seemed dependable. However, the fact that Rena had acknowledged this also meant that the base case possibility of it all just being the result of my own needless fears went completely out the window.
私も今からすぐにリカちゃんの家に行くね。一緒に行く？
That's
なら迎えに行くよ。
わかった。じゃあいつもの待ち合わせ場所で合流しよう。待ってるぞ。
私、ケイチ君の家に迎えに行くから。だからお家で待ってていいよ。それからご家族に私と一緒にリカちゃんの家に行ってくるって伝えておいてね。
うちでいいのか？時間のロスのような。
あと、みーちゃんには電話した？みーちゃんはこういう時すっごく頼もしいの。まだなら私から電話しておくね。
My thoughts froze for a moment. Shion had just told me to be careful around Mion during our phone conversation a little while ago. If the Sonozaki main house was somehow lurking behind the surface of the annual freak deaths, then the current heir to the family, Mion, wouldn't be uninvolved. So wouldn't that mean she wasn't involved in what happened this year to Takano-san and Tomitake-san, and also the mayor's disappearance?
じゃあね。すぐに行くからね。待っててね。
And that's all Rena said before hurriedly hanging up. You know, it is pretty interesting. In the first chapter, we learned about all this stuff happening in the past in Hinamizawa, while Rena and the others were keeping it all hush-hush, looking as if they are keeping a secret from Keiichi. More specifically, Rena. So, because of that, Rena was suspicious in Keiichi's eyes. So was Mion, but especially Rena. And thus, Rena was... She was acting in her Rena demonic way. But now things have changed. Keiichi learned about the past of Hinamizawa more from Shion, Takano, and Tomitake, and, well, there is no reason to suspect Rena in this case for hiding the stuff. It's because of where Keiichi has learned the stuff that the dynamic is a little bit different. Now, Mion is probably gonna be her demonic self as well in this, but at the very least, now we get some help from Rena because of this, so I guess so. Now wasn't the time to be doubting Mion. I need to make sure Rika-chan was safe. But yeah, you know, it is something that I questioned at the beginning of this chapter, like how different things are gonna be. The present moments of this chapter have been different, but it does seem that the past has stayed mostly the same when it comes to the murders. I was thinking in the back of my head if maybe the murders of the past are gonna be a little bit different, that the scenario is gonna be a little bit different, but no, it's actually the same. I guess you could say that a similar rule applies somewhat to Yumineko as well. Present stuff may end up being different, but in the past, things are gonna stay a little bit the same, in a way. Alright, let's go. I got changed and grabbed the key to my bike. I figured things would go more smoothly if we met up in the place we usually do before school. Right now, I wouldn't need to come all the way to my house. My parents would probably have objected if I told them I was leaving, so I creeped out without a word. Alright. The young years of being a kid. Getting inside like houses and searching for ghosts. Getting out of houses at night. Typical teenager kid stuff, you know. with the added spooky stuff that is happening in Hinamizawa. She said that Rika-chan and Satoko lived together, right? And it wasn't only Rika-chan. Satoko wasn't there either. Yeah, I was thinking that as well. Realizing what them living together really meant caused my thoughts to immediately take a turn for the worse. Or, worst case scenario, they both disappeared. Best case scenario, maybe since Rika learned the stuff from Keiichi, Rika told Satoko, and they decided to do something about it, so they went somewhere else. It would be bad since we are not going to be able to find them at their home right now. They're probably somewhere, and we won't be able to know where they went. So, yeah, that's bad. That can't be. Satoko is. She's got nothing to do with any of this. Even if there were a reason for Rika-chan to disappear, there shouldn't be one for Satoko. When I was really fast, she approached me on her bike at an amazing speed. Her breath was ragged. Paint a clear picture of just how hurriedly she'd been going.
Oh, Rena! さあ、行こうぜ!
Alright, let's.
圭一くん、私、お家で待っててって言ったはずだよ。
Well, he thought that it would be faster if we were to just meet at the middle right over here. Rena's expression was all business. Was she mad? It came out of the blue. Yeah, I faltered for a moment.
いや、ここで合流した方が早く出発できると思ってさ。
圭一くんは本当に分かってるの？
Okay, I got some goosebumps there. And I think I'm realizing what is going on over here. It may be that Rena told us to stay inside the house because we would be in danger at this point if we were alone. Oops. I mean, we're fine. But Rena shouted, clearly angry. Unless there's something that I'm not taking into account right over here and I'm not realizing it. Only Rena would know. I've never seen Rena like this before.
分かってるのかって何がだよ。
Rena seemed to notice she was scaring me. Took a couple of deep breaths. Then continued as if admonishing me, but her expression didn't soften at all.
圭一くん、昨日村長さんがいなくなって村中で大騒ぎになったよね。
ああ。
そんな中で圭一くんはリカちゃんとさとこちゃんがいなくなったって言ってるんだよ。
ああ。そういうことになるな。
じゃあもっと用心しなくちゃダメだよ。こんな夜中にたった一人でこんなところで突っ立ってるなんて不用心にも程があるんだから。
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, same case for you too, Rena. I began to understand where Rena's anger was coming from. I mean, you were coming here all alone by yourself. I guess in that sense, it would be good that Keiichi came here as well. You might have been attacked on the way to Keiichi's home.
ご家族にはちゃんと私とリカちゃんの家に行くって伝えたよね。
Oops.
万が一私と圭一くんが揃って失踪しちゃうようなことがあってもいつどの辺でいなくなったのかを残すことができる。
Yeah, about that. Keiichi, can we just go back home a little bit? I think that we forgot something. We'll be back here, Rena. Rena was perfectly level-headed in this emergency situation. Ever since the night of Higurashi, every night someone had died or disappeared. On the night itself, Takano-san and Tomitaka-san met strange ends. On the next night, the elder vanished. Now, on the next night after that, Rika-chan and Satoko were nowhere to be found. I haven't been thinking of anyone but myself, but it wasn't enough to say that Hinamizawa was a little weird at the moment. It was in fact extremely strange. When I had been even anticipated our own disappearances, and told me to tell my family where I was going. I was embarrassed at my own carelessness, and the need to be embarrassed made me afraid of the night.
ごめん。まだ言ってなかった。
うん。 じゃあ一緒に言いに行こう。
Alright, let's. With Rena beside me, I will back towards my house. Yeah, my apologies to Keiichi's parents right over here, but they are gonna have to learn too that Hinamizawa is a really, really weird village. So they gotta learn the quote-unquote tradition of expecting the worst. The moon seems strangely high in the sky. Oh, the moon. The sky that was uselessly vast and cold. So that no matter what, it would never seem to me like a dream. And this cruel fact had already confronted me. On such a crazy night, Rena had been imaginably be dependable. Hinamizawa's metamorphosis, to make Rena caution me against carelessness, was, to me, the most fearsome thing of all. The moon seemed strangely high in the sky. But we made our way Mion away, and she, of course, wasn't sure whether to believe me about Rika-chan and Saratoko's disappearance.
ケイちゃん、本気で言ってんの？もし冗談だったらかなり怒るよ。
Hey, don't blame us. Rika was the one who didn't pick up the phone. Mion was clearly displeased. If this were a joke, it wasn't very funny. I understood how indiscreet my words were. Ever since the day before yesterday, someone had either died or vanished every night. Rika-chan and Satoko disappearing after all that was something you just couldn't say, even in jest.
みーちゃん、
Yeah, totally not something that you could joke about that, especially Hinamizawa.
本当に冗談だったなら怒るんじゃなく笑おうよ。だって冗談なんだから。私たちはそれが冗談であることを確かめなくちゃいけない。
I mean, on the flip side, yeah, the way Rena is saying over here, it would actually be good if it was somewhat of a joke.
そうだね。機嫌の悪そうなことを言ってごめん。
However indiscreet a joke it may have been, if we learned that our friends were safe, it would end up as nothing more than a funny story. Having been warned about that by Rena, Mion gave a dry smile. The tension she felt loosening a bit. She mounted her bicycle as well. Our three bicycles' lights flashed down the pitch-black roads. They were some of the only illumination outside. Alright.
ケイちゃんはなぜ急にこんな時間にリカちゃんの家に電話なんかする気になったわけ？
Mion asked me the same thing that I had trouble explaining to Rena. And oh boy, how difficult it is gonna be to explain this to Mion herself.
虫が知らせたじゃおかしいか。
Okay. Smart. Yeah, you are basically taking that word from Rena, like from previous discussion. I couldn't quite tell because it was dark, but I forgot I could see Mion smiling very ambiguously. I definitely understood that she wasn't convinced, though, despite the darkness.
俺さ、うたた寝してる時に悪い夢を見るとどうしても気になっちゃうんだよ。
ケイチくんはそれでリカちゃんがさらわれる夢を見たわけかな。
いや、もっと漠然とした予感みたいなものだよ。リカちゃんが電話に出てくれたなら、レナやミオにも続けて電話するつもりだったよ。
I smoothly babbled out of my mouth, makeshift though they were. I was lying because I thought telling them why it was connected to Shion would be like silently admitting we'd stolen into the ritual storehouse together that night. Mion didn't press me any further. I don't know whether that convinced her, or maybe she figured that making sure Rika-chan and Satoko were safe would be faster than making an issue out of it. Nonetheless, I felt relieved, and immediately a little guilty. Mion hadn't really been acting any differently these last few days, but I'm still trying to distance myself from her for some reason. It was only because of what I heard from Shion and Oishi-san, that she was the successor to some kind of super extravagant gang family. No. Was I just trying to force myself to forget? Don't do that, Keiichi. Was it Mion who was the first to ask about the night of Watanagashi? In such a harsh tone at that? Have I already forgotten the terror I felt? At the time, Mion looked like someone different from the Mion I knew. When I think about that Mion, then Shion and Oishi-san's descriptions of Mion made a tiny bit more sense. That's it, isn't it? If it wasn't for how she acted that day, then I wouldn't be feeling this way towards her now. What on earth was going on with her back then? I was conveniently thinking only for everything she had done after that, while disregarding the very first thing. The thing I should have been looking at most, wasn't I? Mion was pedaling her bicycle in front of me, her long hair fluttering in the wind. No matter how long I looked at her back, it never gave me answers to any of them. No matter how long I looked at her back, it never gave me any answers to any of my questions. We went all the way to the stone steps leading up to the shrine grounds. Of course, we weren't going to want to hold our bikes up there, so we parked them beside the staircase instead.
フルデ神社か。
みんな公園みたいな感覚で勝手に出入りしてるけど、本当はここはフルデ家の立派な私有地なんだよ。
So the entire shrine is private property. And it really makes you feel the passage of time. 10 or 20 years ago, it would have looked the same, exact same.
だとすると、フルデ家って結構な旧家なんじゃないのか？
Very.
代々続いた由緒ある。
うん、ない。おかしいよ。
When I said something clearly disquieting, so I ran over to her.
どうしたレナ？
Huh?
リカちゃんとサトコちゃんはいつもここに自転車を止めてるはずなの。
So they did live somewhere else.
ほら、どこにもない。
I took a look around. Indeed, there were no other bicycles aside from the ones we'd taken to get here.
他の場所に止めてる可能性もあるんじゃない？例えば、担いで石段を上がったとか。
女の子には無理だよ、ケイイチ君。
Just as she said, I can imagine Rika-chan and Satoko lugging their bikes all the way up there. I mean, I do, with my stairs to my apartment. I don't really have like a place for my bike, like down, like in front of the building. I'd have to carry my bike like 3 stairs, like 3 floors to my apartment. We hadn't yet knocked on Rika-chan's door. Reality was already sparking some ideas that weren't what you'd call good. Maybe they were just parked under some trees and we haven't noticed them. Okay, well, let's think of it this way. Let's say that there is some perpetrator that is doing all this. Kidnapped Rika and Satoko in their sleep. Would they be going after the bikes too? Maybe they would create the illusion of Rika and Satoko going somewhere on their own with their bikes, so they took the bikes as well. But for right now, I'm just gonna believe that they actually went somewhere with their bikes themselves. I refuse to believe that not being able to find their bikes here was proof that they disappeared.
行こうぜ。家に行った方がはるかに確実だろう。
Yeah, maybe they left something. We all nodded and dashed up to the stone steps. We passed through the red arch and came onto the shrine grounds, which was covered in neat gravel. It was so quiet here, as though the Watanagashi festival had never happened.
で、リカちゃんたちが住んでいる家ってのはどこにあるんだ？
I swear I'm gonna hear like some extra rule where we're invading like sacred grounds, and Oyashiro is gonna be really, really angry at us. Yeah, well, you know what? Who's the one that started all this murdering? It was you, Oyashiro. I don't want to hear it from you.
こっちついてきて。
And I took the lead and sprinted off. We went towards the assembly hall behind the shrine, then looked around behind it. In the darkness of the night, we found a small prefab 2-story shack that looked like a warehouse.
明かり消えてるね。寝てるんじゃない？
ノックしてみよう。
I ran a Mion near the shack, which didn't really look like a place people would live. Interesting. And they had such a beautiful shrine, so I figured they'd live in an equally beautiful house. It was far from what I expected. That is a good point. Maybe there is some sentimental value to this particular house right over here.
リカちゃん、さとこちゃん、いる？
Rena shouted up towards the second floor. Her voice was restrained at first, but it steadily grew louder. No answer. In fact, there wasn't any sort of activity in the house at all.
寝てるのかもしれない。起こしてみよう。
Mion banged on the shutter with both hands, and the loud sounds echoed into our surroundings. In Christ. If they didn't hear like the phone call before, then how would they be able to hear like any other sounds? They would have to notice this much noise. And they would turn on the light in their room, fling open the windows, and yell, "What time do you think it is?" That, however, wasn't happening. There was absolutely no response. Mion stopped slamming her fist on the shutter, and a sudden silence fell over us. The silence aroused terrible thoughts in us. Is the door locked? Also, maybe it's not the right time for me to ask this, but what is the deal with that big... Is that a big lump of cheese? Like, put in front of the door? The fuck? I can feel the blood draining from my face. Is that part of the tradition? Was Oyashiro a fan of cheese as well? Was Oyashiro a rat? Oh boy. Or maybe it's a similar case to a scorpion charm from Mimineko. Maybe it wards away Oyashiro. Oyashiro is lactose intolerant, I guess.
鍵かかってる。どこかから中に入れないかな。
Just, I don't know, just pick up the lump of cheese and just break the window with it. Rena showed no signs of stopping. Also, is the door locked? It didn't look like she would admit they weren't there until we went inside and saw for ourselves. Yeah, that refusal to give in gave me strength.
2階の窓とか鍵をかけ忘れてないかな。俺ちょっと試してみる。
Well, are there like any like ladders?
ケイちゃん、はしご。
Mion brought over the ladder that was standing against the house. The footing was a little unstable for me to be climbing it, but Mion held the ladder firmly in place for me. Alright, I ain't climbed too many ladders. My inexperience with them exposed, I climbed up one step at a time, and tried to open each window on the second floor.
みーちゃん、私念のため本宅の方も見てくるね。すぐ戻るから。
Rena darted away. I don't think that's really a good idea to be separated right now. What? A main house?
古出家の本当の家だよ。両親が亡くなって以来ずっと放置してあるそうだけど。
あ、そうか。リカちゃんのご両親って亡くなってるんだよな。
At that point, I recalled something else. Wasn't Satoko living here too?
さとこも親なしだよ。親代様のたたりってことで、両親が崖から落っこちてね。お兄さんだったサトシ君もいなくなっちゃって。
サトシって前に聞いた名前だな。
I remembered. He was the one who disappeared last year because of the curse.
それ以来、サトコはリカちゃんと一緒にこの小屋で暮らしてるんだよ。互いに身寄りのない一人ぼっち同士。助け合ってね。
本宅って言ったか？そっちで暮らした方が楽だろうに。
I guess it will be really difficult for Rika to live in that main house at this point. The curtains were drawn, so I couldn't get a good look inside to see, but two young girls living together seemed like a pretty tough life.
初めはそうしてたみたい。でも、両親を思い出すから辛いって言って。
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had no idea. I feel really bad for them. They were normally so cheerful at school that I never even realized an atom of this.
リカちゃんもサトコも大変なんだな。
呪われてるんだよ。
え？
Suddenly, Mion said something in such a low voice that it sounded like she was cursing someone, and I didn't let it slide. I turned around to let her to face her, then asked again.
ミオン、お前、今、なんて言った？
呪われてるって言ったの。
Mion, still holding onto the letter, brought her head up to look me in the eyes. Mion, you surely picked the wrong time for you to do your spooky stuff, like right now, especially, while holding that letter. So as our eyes met, an absolute zero jolt of electricity surged through my body. Mion's eyes clouded over, and within them boiled and bubbled a stew of chaos. They whirled around and around like a raging sea, and bubbles floated to the surface. I had at some point been trapped on this ladder, like being cornered on a dead-end street.
ミオン、お前、なんて顔してんだよ。
I intend to follow that up with, "You're going too far with this joke." I gave her a forced smile. However, on such uneven footing as I was, the only thing that came out of my mouth was a hoarse groan, as I desperately struggled to not let nausea overwhelm me.
北条聡子はね、お社様のたたりを一身に受けた呪われた子なの。
Mion answers, with a response to something I never asked, as if replying to somebody else's question.
公園の展望台から転落死したのは両親だけ。あの子をミソッカス扱いしてた冷たい両親だけが死んで、あの子は一人だけ助かった。引き取り先であの子をいじめたおばは、綿流しの夜に異常者に脳みそがぐっちゃぐちゃに飛び散って頭が原型をとどめないくらいにめった打ちにされて殺された。いつもあの子をかばってたサトシ君もあの子の誕生日に突然消えてしまった。あの子をいじめていなかったのに消されてしまった。警察は家出したんだって決めつけたけど、サトシ君は逃げ出すような人じゃなかった。いつも一生懸命、誰の力も借りずにコツコツと一人懸命に努力する人だった。たった一人の妹のために身を粉にして頑張ってたのに消されてしまった。あの子のためにだけに生きていたのに消されてしまった。かわいそうなサトシ君、なんて報われないサトシ君、なんて恩知らずなあの子なの。あの子は呪われた子。あの子に近づけばそれが誰でも末路は同じ。たたりで死ぬかたたりで消えるか。あの子に安らぎなんてあるものか。あの子に安らぎなんてあるものか。リカちゃんが消えたのもきっとサトコのせいだよ。違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない
Mion was mumbling words over and over that were no longer coherent. Her shoulders were trembling so hard that I could feel it through the leather. I almost lost my footing, which made me realize just how far away the ground really was.
落ち着けよミオ。何のことを言ってるのかわからないよ。
I wasn't sure if she even heard me. Mion rocked back and forth, and that rocking and trembling was becoming even more violent. Help me. The letter. It's falling. Help. Help me! I heard the sound of many people running towards us. Oh. Thank heaven. Or, well, maybe not heaven. I don't know if it's gonna be heaven or hell that is gonna be coming for us right now.
ここだ
I very nearly said, "Help me out," right? 4 or 5 adults, led by Rana, ran over here with flashlights.
ケイチくん、みーちゃん、遅れてごめんね。鍵借りてきたよ。
Alright.
助かったね。どうも窓も戸締まりは完璧らしくてね。困ってた。
When I heard Mion talking like nothing had just happened, I again felt a chill run through me. The person currently holding the letter in place, it was definitely Mion. He was the real Mion Sonozaki. Then, the person muttering to themselves just a few seconds ago. Who was that? The person who was mumbling about terrible things, like curses. Who was that? Like, I get the feeling that Satoshi's disappearance specifically, that is something that is going to be important to Mion and Shion here. I jumped down from the ladder as if running away, before Mion turned into that person who wasn't Mion a second time. The adults tried a few different keys on a keyring as they tried to open the big shutter on the first floor.
リカちゃんの家はね、もともとは町会の防災倉庫だったの。だからシャッターの鍵を今でも村長さんの家が預かってるの。
It used to be a disaster shelter for the town council, so the key to the shutter is still kept in the mayor's house.
今ではリカちゃんとサトコの指定だけど、まあもともとリカちゃんの家の敷地内だし、誰も文句は言わないけどね。
Mion gave me a smile as she said that. I, however, could only return her gaze with an aghast expression. Mion was acting all too normal now, but that only contrasted all the more sharply with her earlier un-Mion-like creepiness. Bang! Bam! Clatter, clatter, clatter. Bang! The shutter opened up for the first time in a very long while. Rana located the light switch and wasted no time going inside. I followed her in.
リカちゃん、サトコちゃん、いるなら返事をして。
I climbed the narrow staircase. Yeah, it looked like nothing more than a warehouse. But now that I was inside, I could feel how lived in it was. It was a person's home. Somehow, the scent of the two of them filled the place. And this was definitely where Rika-chan and Satoko lived. Look at this. The first floor doubled as a town assembly warehouse, but the second floor was a space entirely for living. Yeah. You look from outside, you wouldn't even imagine a room like this here, but hey, I'm vibing with this. Like for a split second, I was thinking that they would live in such a bad environment, but this room is actually pretty nice to live in. They made it pretty good. Just like a one-room apartment. Past the kitchen was a living room taking up about 150 square feet. Dressers, cupboards, and the light were packed into the space. And in the corner, there was a huge pile of clothes that appeared to have just been taken in from drying outside. In the center of the living room was a fold-up table, and on it were small containers for things like soy sauce and salad dressing. The sense of frugal lifestyle drifted from all of it. It was strange that they weren't here in the middle of the night like this. The adults, climbing the stairs one at a time, began to make a fuss and talk among themselves.
どう？やっぱりいない？
うん、いない。絶対おかしい。
The village had just been thrown into chaos yesterday because of the mayor's disappearance. And today, even Rika-chan and Satoko had. Were they all playing somewhere together? That can't be. Their bicycles aren't here though. Where would they have gone so late at night? Have they just not come back yet? Where did they go? You know, that's the thing with Rika and Satoko. I mean, we have yet to learn a lot about the girls and Keiichi. But now in this instance, it sucks that we don't know much about Rika and Satoko's routines and all that, like what they do. Like, who knows, maybe at certain points during the week, both Satoko and Rika, they just go with their bikes at night and just go to a place of their own to calm themselves. Maybe there is a place that they love visiting at night. Who knows? Eventually, Mion settled them down.
信じたくないけど、君吉の村長さんが消えたのが昨日の今日。
However, I would say that Mion and Rena would know about such a thing. If Satoko and Rika would have such a tradition to go somewhere at night of their own volition, just plain and simple, they would have told us, but no. This right here is unusual.
無関係とは言い切れないね。
The adults' faces paled at Mion's declaration. Or, you know, unless Rika and Satoko, they never told the other girls about this. This is something that only Satoko and Rika would know. For some reason, it is a secret. My Renas did as well.
例えば、ご近所に行ってお茶でもごちそうになって眠っちゃって、起こすに起こせなくなってるなんて可能性ももちろんあるよね。その可能性をまず潰そう。牧野さんは裏手から沢のあたりの家を回ってください。慶太郎さんはおじゃが池の方。岡村さんは。
Mion promptly gave directions to the villagers. The adults followed them without hesitation, despite her age.
私はここに残って電話で片っ端から心当たりに問い合わせてみます。じゃあ皆さん、そういうことで。
Got it. The adult all roared in reply and pounded back down the stairs below.
さすがみーちゃんだね。みーちゃんは学校だけじゃなく、ひなみざわの委員長さんみたいだよね。
茶化さない茶化さない。ほらどいて。おじさんは電話を使うんだから。
Mion grinned proudly, took the receiver, and got started. Rena gave Mion a trusting look, considering her dependable for doing all this. My feelings, though, were a little more complicated, since her leadership seemed to be affirming the Sonozaki family's successor impression that Shion and Oishi-san had given me. Stop it right there, Keiichi Maebara. All that matters right now. The most important thing is to make sure Rika-chan and Satoko are safe. Let's see. Could there be a clue hinting at where they might have gone somewhere in this room?
とはいえ、そんなのわかるはずもないよな。
If we were tore the whole place apart and figured out what was different from before, we might be able to speculate, but there was nothing strange about this room, and there were no clues in sight. In the first place, I had never been here before. There was no way for me to know what was different if I didn't know how the room usually looked. Well, if there is nothing unusual, then that means that nothing suspicious happened here. So, it really reaffirms me that they went out of their own volition. That or the perpetrator just came in and just forced Rika and Satoko like out of the house without any struggle and all that, and they just left with the bikes too. Hey, don't give up, Keiichi Maebara. And maybe indeed the perpetrator just hid the bikes somewhere to create the illusion that Satoko and Rika just went somewhere of their own volition. Stop thinking and start looking for something. in search of something. I tried pulling open the dresser drawers and open the windows. I didn't uncover anything meaningful though. Rena, also unable to stand around doing nothing, was looking around the room like I was.
でもレナ、冷蔵庫や流しの下の棚とかを開いてもリカちゃんは見つからないと思うぞ。
隠れてるかなって思って。
As we were searching, it got noisy outside. Like a little doggy, like hidden inside. Villagers were quickly assembling here, having heard the commotion. Of course, a lot of them were probably people Mion had called.
私、みんなに話をしてくる。遅かれ、警察も来るだろうしね。大石のやつにも事情を説明しなきゃ。
Mion began descending the stairs, and we followed her out to the front of the house. There were already around 10 adults here, and all of them looked uneasy. I suddenly noticed that the old people from the shrine were here as well, and they were praying for Rika-chan's safety, rubbing their prayer beads. And this would actually create a lot more anxiety for the villagers of Hinamizawa. Again, as I said before, Rika is basically the sole survivor of our family. If she disappears, then oh boy, people are gonna get so anxious about this. Especially since, well, this is a lot more unusual than the last years. At least one person disappears and the other just dies. Now you have 2 people dead and possibly 3 people that disappeared. And it happens in succession, like each day. This wasn't just a problem between friends anymore.
Mion-chan! Rika-chanとSatoko-chanがいなくなったってのは本当かい?
The villagers all formed a ring around Mion, swarming her. Mion raised her right hand, as if silently telling them to calm down.
誰かの家にお邪魔していないか、町会の回覧区分に沿って全校をまず調べよう。本人たちがこっちの気も知らずに、誰かの家ですやすやとお泊まりしてる可能性もあるわけだからね。
It would definitely be hard for someone to wake up Rika-chan if she had eaten a good, full meal and fallen asleep like a kitten afterwards. Oh, how nice it would be if that were the case.
こんなことは考えたくないけど、もちろん悪いことが起こった可能性もある。
Mion's face grew remarkably more grim, and a wave of silence washed over the adults. It would be funny if we would see Rika and Satoko just come over here and they actually went shopping late at night. Maybe they went to buy some more cheese. I don't know. Maybe there wasn't enough cheese at the front of the house over there. Like, what is up with that lump of cheese?
我々も手分けしよう。昨夜の村長探しで回ったところをもう一度回る。
俺たちはダム現場をよく念入りに探してみる。お前さんたちは学校のあたりを探してみてくれ。
どうしたらはよ回らんと。行こう行こ
う。みんな昨日も村長さん探しで徹夜だったからね。寝不足で辛いだろうけど、どうかよろしく。
Oh! With that as their signal, the adults scattered in every direction. I figured I should scatter somewhere as well, so I started walking unsteadily in the direction no one else had gone in. I was getting farther and farther from people. I didn't feel scared or anything though. If someone were made to disappear, she and I should be first. It would have been perfectly normal for me to be scared of the dark. However, I didn't feel that way. Why was that? It was because tonight, someone had already disappeared. So, nobody else would disappear tonight. It would take some time before I, exhausted as I was, would feel guilt at the cause of my own selfish sense of relief. Oh no. Don't tell me that this is it. Suddenly, my vision cleared, and a cold wind caressed my body. This was the hill from which you could see the whole village. Looking down from this hill, I could see lights on here and there, and knew that the entire village had awoken from its slumber. Yeah, indeed. Huh. First Takano-san and Tomitake-san, then the mayor. And now even Rika-chan and Satoko had been sacrificed. And word of it was spreading everywhere. Such a beautiful view. Too bad that it's happening over a really, really dangerous. Too bad that it's happening in such a chaotic night. The strength in my knees left me. And this could no longer be a joke. Could have found him. Mion would have told me I was a worrywart. But right now I would just be glad we did. And they would have smiled at me. My hopes disappeared as if I were awakening from a dream. That was what the view I could see was telling me. Following my knees, my arms both bent forward onto the ground, and I clawed at it with my nails. I couldn't figure out if I was feeling sorrow or frustration.
俺のせいなのか。
I couldn't endure the burden of my own sin, and I had just told Rika-chan about it. No. I'm not gonna say that it is all your fault, Keiichi. It's this village that has an interesting history that we have yet to fully understand. They had nothing to do with it. But Rika-chan and even Satoko had been sacrificed. It was like a cross that Shion and I would each have to bear the weight of until we ourselves were erased. I mean, if we were to entertain the idea that, hey, if one person dies, the other has to disappear, 2 people die, 2 people have to disappear, then if 3 people disappear, then maybe another person had died already. And we would not know. Although, something tells me that there is not really a strict rule when it comes to that, to be honest. I mean, Keiichi died in the first chapter. Actually, 3 people died, like, by the end of that chapter. Rena, Mion, and Keiichi. That's like 4 people that died and another that disappeared. Nothing else was recorded about other people disappearing after that, so... At the very least, I don't think that whoever it is, whether it is because of the curse, or maybe there is also a perpetrator on top, I don't think that they're following a strict rule when it comes to that. If somebody has to disappear, then there has to be a reason for it. Like each person that disappears, there is a reason for why they disappeared. Oh, if I'm going that far, then the problem started long before that. I mean, again, when it comes to my theory about the infection and the organization that is taking them away, Rika and Satoko would more than likely fill that description as well. That they would probably have the curse in them as well after such long and gruesome years of torture and people dying around them. The curse would affect them. My original sin, breaking taboo, and entering the ritual storehouse without asking. I knew I shouldn't have gone there from the start. Yet I lost out to cheap curiosity. I hadn't felt so angry at myself until this very moment. And it is interesting because we learn from Oishi that Rika and the mayor are the ones who replaced the lock with something much easier, which would entice Takano and Tomitake even more into going inside, which would kickstart this entire thing. Why would they do that? Did they want Takano and Tomitake to go inside their storehouse? For what reason? To catch them in the act? Well, they surely did not catch them in the act like that night, with any guards around them, and say, "Aha! I knew that you were gonna go inside the storehouse, you thieves! Now go to prison, you two!" But no. Or Rika and the mayor replaced the lock for somebody else to enter. It's just that, well, Takano and Tomitake, they were not the ones that they were looking for, but somebody else that we don't know of. That or... I don't know. I guess we shall see during the next session of investigation. There was such a crouching sound. I wasn't even interested in who made the noise, despondent as I was.
Keiichi-kun? Keiichi-kun? Daijoubu?
It was Rena. Perhaps my clawing at the ground made it look as though I was having stomach pains. She ran over and rubbed my back to make me feel better.
俺が全部悪いんだ。俺のせいで。俺のせいで。
ケイチ君が何も悪いわけはないよ。自分をどうか責めないでね。
I could tell Rena was doing her best to choose the right words out of consideration for me. And that's why I could sense her intent behind those words. Keiichi-kun, you know why Rika-chan Satoko-chan disappeared, don't you? Is what she really meant to say. Because it was an emergency. Rena had ignored the reason why I wanted to make sure Rika-chan was safe, but... now that we actually confirmed her disappearance, it was only natural Rena would start to wonder about why. However, with the situation having gone this far, I couldn't possibly tell her now. I didn't want to admit that Rika-chan and Satoko had disappeared, but I couldn't let Rena disappear either.
Keiichi-kun.
Oh boy. Now we are going... Now the stone is rolling down the hill. Now because Satoko and Rika disappeared, Keiichi couldn't tell this to Rena. Not necessarily because he himself is scared for his own life, but he's scared that Rena would disappear. And everybody else would disappear if he just keeps his mouth open about this.
こんな風通しのいいところにずっといたら風邪ひいちゃう。
Rena sat down, bringing her eyes level with mine.
子供たちはね、もう解散して家で寝ろって。
Rena showed me her watch as she said that. It was long past 1 in the morning. Time was passing too quickly. And I've been crawling around here for that long.
もう寝ないと明日の学校に差し支えるよ。大人たちだって昨べも一晩中村長さんを探したからみんなクタクタ。今夜は少し早めに解散するって。
I was a little upset that they weren't allotting as much time to this as they had to search for the mayor last night. But that was something I, the cause of everything, had no right to criticize them for.
大丈夫。さっきね、警察の人も来たの。今どんどん町から応援のパトカーが来てるよ。
Hearing that remark, I looked down at the village to see that there were indeed more cars than one would normally expect at this hour, coming from the darkness on the other side of the mountain. However, none of their emergency lights were on. Of course, their sirens weren't waving either. That's right. All the incidents that occurred right after Watanagashi were seen as the product of Oyashiro-sama's curse, and would be handled in secrecy. I guess. So they would know beforehand to keep it all hush-hush. Because of the Sonozakis. Rika-chan and Satoko too. Their disappearance would end up exactly like the other serial incidents in the past. surreptitious, unresolved, declared a mystery, and disappear from memory. Rika-chan's face, her sweet, sweet face, like a Western doll's, would fade away. I mean, I guess it was inevitable that throughout this entire Higurashi adventure, I would see everybody suffer in some way or the other. I just don't really want Satoko or Rika to end up like this. Satoko's smile, her energetic, fanged smile, would fade away. The more I try to remember them, the less I would be able to. I deserve to be called an idiot dozens of times over, and it wouldn't be enough. I couldn't hold back the tears at my own sheer stupidity.
圭一君が何を自分に責めているかわからないけれど、もうやめよう。
I wasn't about to deny it. I couldn't. Even so, I couldn't affirm it either. I want to at least keep her out of this. If she found out, she would become involved.
頼む、レナ。放っておいてくれないか。俺きっと家に帰ったって眠れない。
If I couldn't get to sleep, then I at least wanted to search for Rika-chan and Satoko until I collapsed. The entire village was looking, and yet they still hadn't been found. I don't think I'd be able to find them if I went looking alone at this point. Still, I had to do it.
俺のせいで消えてしまったんだ。他の探してくれてる人たちよりも先になんか眠れるものか。
I said that to myself, in self-deprecation. But I soon realized that Rena was silently trying to find the meaning in my mumblings.